Welcome in, everyone. Now, do you want to know what storylines are going to be worth following for this upcoming NHL season? I've done my homework and I have 10 stories you need to put on your radar right now. Let's get after it, everybody. Number one, the Mitch Marner and Toronto Maple Leafs divorce. What's the outcome? What is it going to look like this year on the ice? I can't wait to see this. First of all, for Vegas, we know they're always all about getting that shiny new toy, that big free agent. They always do this. They always get kind of the big fish. Listen, they were kind of exposed last year, lacked a little bit of speed, lacked a little bit of scoring punch. It played out in the playoffs, much to a lot of our surprises. So they go out and I think really fix both of those issues. I think Mitch Marner is going to be just a phenomenal player out there in Vegas. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Mitch Marner and his playoff performances in Toronto, that he never really showed up for the playoffs. But I would really argue this point. What Toronto Maple Leaf really has shown up in the playoffs over the past number of years. In 70 career playoff games, Mitch Marner has 63 points. That's a .90 points per playoff game. When you compare that to Austin Matthews, let's say, he's at a .87. Nylander, .86. Tavares, .71. But sure, let's just blame Marner and run him out of town, and he's the problem, and he's off to Vegas. So I think he's going to do just fine in Vegas. I can't wait to see it. For the Maple Leafs, though, how do they replace that production? There's a lot of scoring that just went out the door. Yes, they brought in Dakota Joshua. He could be potentially a 20 goal guy this year, but he's far from replacing Mitch Marner. It's going to look different on the ice in Toronto. Maybe some room for Nhat and some of these other, got a couple of the other younger players that might be able to step in and start to add more to the table, but going to be a storyline worth keeping an eye on. Number two, does Sidney Crosby get traded? Oh, baby, this is something to be watching this year, guys. 2 years left on his contract at $8.7 million per season. My short answer to this is no, unless he really wants to move. Unless he just says, listen, I can do more for the club right now by moving on, letting them get some assets, and I can go chase another cup. This guy is loyal to the T's. He wants to be a one sweater guy, 100% respect for that, totally get that. But it's going to be something worth following, because when we get into January and into February, that the phone's going to be ringing in Pittsburgh. Teams are going to be calling. Of course, it's a long rumor that Colorado would be in because he's got his buddy out there, Nate McKinnon. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, listen, Pittsburgh is $13 million under the cap right now, so there's no cap issues for them. But this is also a team that hasn't made the playoffs for 3 years and haven't won a playoff series since 2017, of course, when they last hoisted the Stanley Cup. We know that Kyle Dubas would get an absolute haul for Sid. Personally, I'd love to see it. I hate the fact that the next real significant game he's going to play will be the Olympics this year. And he's still got plenty of game left, guys. I know, getting up there in age, but he's got, I think, a solid 2 or 3 more really high-end years in him. So we'll see what happens there. Number 3, the potential UFA class going into 2026. Now, I say potential because there are tons of names out here. How many of them actually get to the free agent market when we cross into July 1st? That remains to be seen. But, man, you have got Connor McDavid. You've got Jack Eichel. You have Kaprizov, Kyle Connor, Panarin, Kempe, Natchez, just to name a few. Some other notables here: Alex Tuch, Nick Schmaltz, Anders Lee, Zuccarella, Jaden Schwartz, Mason Marchment, Oliver Bjorkström, Patrick Kane, Michael Bunting, Andrei Kuzmenko. I can never get that one right. How many of these guys actually make it to market? I kind of have a feeling it may follow the model it did this past July, where it was kind of a dud, where a lot of guys just re-upped and signed. I definitely think McDavid's probably staying put. I think Eichel's staying put. I think Kaprizov. I think all 3 of those guys are most likely staying put. Some of these other guys we'll see, right? But listen, there's 31 other clubs that would love to see Connor McDavid in their sweater. Totally get it. All these other fan bases saying, oh, he would look so good in our, Florida Panthers jersey, our Boston Bruins Spoke B, or man, he'd look great in Ottawa. Well, of course he would look great in those sweaters. You know what would make those sweaters look great? It's him. It's Becky's Connor freaking McDavid. Of course, he would look good in any sweater out there. I don't think he's going anyplace. I don't think that the Edmonton Oilers are going to be an organization that gave up on Wayne Gretzky and traded him out the door. and let Connor McDavid go. I just don't see it happening. Again, unless he wants to move, I think he's staying right there. So be worth watching. Number 4, the Florida Panthers. Can they three-peat? Can they get back to a 4th Stanley Cup and win 3 in a row? Listen, this is hard to do. The last time this happened, you got to go all the way back to basically the 1983-84 season and the seasons prior to with the New York Islanders. They won 4 in a row and went to 5 straight Stanley Cups. Phenomenally difficult. And when you think about all the additional teams today, a salary cap, this is just so hard to do. And part of the reason teams don't do this is they have the attrition and they have players walking out the door, getting paid. You have injuries and you just have fatigue as well. I mean, after 3 straight runs to the cup, that's, a lot of extra games on the body. Full value, though, to Zito and what he has done there as a general manager, getting the coach, getting that right, and being able to keep all these players around. I mean, I can't believe truly that they signed all those big free agents they had, including Brad Marchand. Going into this year, what's going to trip them up? I really can't point to anything outside of the obvious, maybe injuries or fatigue. I don't think this is a team that's going to be resting on their laurels necessarily. I think they're going to be just as hungry next season. Brad's going to bring it. So, yeah, they may just be the favorite in the East once again, as much as the rest of the league probably hates to say that. Storyline number 5. What about expansion? All sorts of conversations going on. We know that the league is going to expand probably within the next 3 to 5 years. Most likely 2 teams, but I bet they expand up to 4 more teams over the next number of years. Curious what we're going to hear this year. Curious what Bettman and the league will let out and what we're going to find out as the season goes on. Of course, we know the players involved here: Atlanta, Houston, Portland, Oregon's being mentioned. Some rumblings about Milwaukee. I don't think we're quite there yet. Quebec City, of course, is the darling, depending on what side of the line you're on, they're either the darling city or the redheaded stepchild of the NHL. We know that the league has been a little bit cold on the idea of going back to Quebec City, not because they don't have a great fan base, not because they wouldn't pack the arena out and sell all the merchandise. Of course, they would do all of those things. What the league is often looking for is growth. They want organic growth in emerging markets where they don't have much of a footprint. They got all sorts of footprints over Quebec City. I mean, even without a team there, they get big numbers, and it's not going to do much to grow the game there. So I understand it from that perspective. We also don't have, it's not a big corporate city. So in terms of corporate sponsorship and season tickets and suites and all the things that teams look for and the NHL looks for revenue generation really isn't there in Quebec City. I personally hope it happens. I'd love to see the Nordiques back. I'd be the first one in line buying a hat and buying a sweater. That'd be awesome to see. But yeah, we're going to have expansion and be very, very interesting to see what we learn this season. Number 6, storyline number 6. Are the Canadiens back for reals? Are they back for reals, guys? Listen, since their COVID run where they went to the Stanley Cup, losing to Tampa, they've had a steady climb up the rankings or up the standings. Going back to 21-22, 55 points, missed the playoffs. 2022-2023, 68 points, missed the playoffs. 23-24, 76 points, missed the playoffs. This year, 91 points, made the playoffs. Awesome. Losing the first round, of course, but had a good showing. And listen, when you look at this team today, Noah Dobson's there now. They made the trade for Zach Baldick with St. Louis. You've got this emerging Lane Hudson, who's already just a monster out there. Demidov came over late last season. He could be a goal scorer. And you have a top line of Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slafkovsky. That's a lot of meat on that bone, for sure. A lot of youth. Absolutely emerging team. I think the Atlantic Division really needs to take this team seriously this year. They surprised a lot of us, caught a lot of us off guard, but I think they're ready to take the next step. Something I said a couple years back, when they were, I think it was 2 years ago, Martin St. Louis, I think my comment was, he's got them playing hard. Now he has to get them to not just play hard, but to win games, to learn how to win. Now they've learned how to win. Now can they learn how to win in the playoffs? I think that's their next step up the ladder, and we'll see what comes of it this season. Storyline number 7. We're in the Anaheim hat, but Joel Quenneville back in the NHL after a hiatus, let's say, joining the Anaheim Ducks. Of course, Quenneville, 1,768 games coached, 969, 572, 77, and 150 record. Of course, back when we were counting ties. And of course, 3 Stanley Cups. He will absolutely be a difference maker for this team. And this team is on the rise. A good young nucleus, great young goaltender. And listen, I hate the fact that Greg Cronin got fired. He improved that team by 8 wins and 21 points year over year. Major improvement. I think Quenneville's going to take it to the next level. And I wouldn't be shocked if this is a playoff team this year. I really wouldn't. Be fun to see what happens. I think they're absolutely on the rise. And I do think that, that trip out west, that's been a little bit easy where you go to San Jose, you go to Anaheim. Yeah, LA's been good, but yeah, it's not going to be as easy of a trip this year, in my opinion. Storyline number 8, and one the players are super excited about, going back to the Olympics for the first time since 2014, the Sochi Games. So they are going to be back. They've committed the next 2 Winter Olympics. We all know how much the players absolutely have been screaming for this. Best on best. It's going to be awesome. If the 4 nations face-off was any indication, we're in for some just dynamic hockey. It's going to be a great, great time. I'm going to be glued to my TV. I'm not a big Olympics guy, but I'll definitely be checking this out. Should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see that. And I take this over an All-Star game, All-Star break every single time. The All-Star game could just go away if you give me best on best like this. Storyline number 9. 2 of the best young players in the league, Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini. Which one would you rather have? Which one would you rather have on your team if you were starting a team today? Listen, Bedard has had a good start to his career in his first 2 seasons, 68 games in his rookie year, 22 goals, 39 assists for 61 points. Last season played all 82, 23 goals, 44 assists for 67 points. Got a lot of criticism, though. There was a lot of criticism being thrown his way that he wasn't able to really up his goal scoring by all that much, despite the extra games. And, of course, the Chicago Blackhawks getting all sorts of criticism, too. It didn't look like they were having a whole lot of fun out there. Didn't look like he was having a whole lot of fun. But who do you blame more? I mean, does Connor deserve that the criticism he was receiving? Do the Blackhawks, deserve that? I kind of do point to the Blackhawks a little bit in terms of putting other players around him. I mean, teams going to Chicago, they can just focus on Bedard. And, hey, if you want to beat me with the rest of your guys, try and go for it. So I do think the sledding hopefully will get easier for him as the team continues to build. But, man, they've got over $18 million of cap space. So obviously most of the good players are gone today. But, hey, if some of those UFAs do hit the market next July 1, not a bad place to go. An original 16 with a couple really good young players. Of course, they did draft Frondell, number 3 overall. He did sign, so be curious to see where he lands if he's out there with Bedard this year. But when you look at him versus Celebrini, the 1 year, 70 games last season, 25 goals, 38 assists for 63 points. So very similar type of season. It just looked different. It felt different. It felt like they were having fun. They were playing free. He was playing free. No expectations. And I do feel like that right now, San Jose, I think, is closer to the playoffs than Chicago was. I don't think either one of these teams make the playoffs this year, but I like a lot of what San Jose did here in this offseason. I like their young nucleus. And Celebrini, I think, is just as good as Bedard. It's going to be really curious to see how both of these players develop. And I think they're going to be compared to each other as the seasons go on, much like Ovi and Sid. I think we may have some of that going on, so that could be a lot of fun. But listen, man, I'd take either one of these players on my team any day of the week. They're both amazing. And yeah, I do think Bedard got a little extra criticism that maybe was undeserved, but part of being a pro athlete, you got to work through that. And this is a great lead into storyline number 10. I'm just going to call it McSuck from McKenna watch. Who is going to McSuck more from McKenna coming into this year? Of course, Gavin McKenna, the presumptive number 1 pick coming into next year's draft, going to Penn State. Would have loved to have seen him up here at UMaine. Would have looked great in our sweater, of course. But heading to Penn State, he's a 6 foot, 165-pound left wing. Some have described him as a cerebral tactician. Just sees the ice so well for such a young guy, 17 years old. Has a super heavy shot, very offensive-minded player. Played in the WHL last season with the Medicine Hat Tigers. 56 games, 41 goals, 88 assists, 129 points. And in the playoffs, 16 games, 9 goals, 29 assists for 38 points. And it looks like all the makings of another just big-time player, like a Bedard, like a Celebrini. He's the next big guy. Now, I do think this is going to cause a race to the bottom. And I'm not saying that players or coaches try to tank. I think GMs maybe would like to see their teams do that sometimes, but the players and coaches have way too much pride to do that. But who's going to win? Who's going to win that lottery next year? That's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch. And man, how bad can my Boston Bruins be? I would not mind seeing that at all. If we're going to take another really bad year, this might be the year to do it. Anyway, guys, that's what we have. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please don't forget to go check out my latest videos where I poke some fun at my Boston Bruins. And then a couple of videos ago, had my conversation with Maine Mariners owner Dexter Payne. So if you already are a subscriber to my channel, I do thank you for that. If you haven't and want to stay up to date on all my upcoming shows, hit that subscribe button down below to help you stay up to date on what's going on over here. And until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.